All right, so great. The other day we talked about stride equals load. Okay, so our stride is loading our body in order to unload or create force or create power. We also talked when we were talking about throwing, we talked about spinning the backside or spinning the hips versus rotating the hips. I want to show you two swings and show you how that same concept, spinning versus rotating, applies to hitting as well. So when we'll look at the bottom one first. Let's look at the top one. I'm sorry, I got them reversed. Okay, so when we look at the top video, I want you to watch as you start to stride or load. Okay, you start out okay, but then I want you to see right here, before your front foot hits the ground, I want you to see how all the weight kind of drops down on this back side, okay? Because we never get the weight transferred completely to the front side. We start spinning our back hip before the weight is forward, and what that's going to cause is we have to then use our hands to try to pull the bat to the ball, okay? So your hips are turning, but the two terms for turning, we have spinning on our back hip or rotating the hips around. So when we spin the hips, notice how the back hip doesn't go around the front hip. Okay, we just kind of stay there and we get caught with our weight back and there's no balance. So going back to even simple terms, we want to move our triangle wider and rotate the hips and stay in that triangle. But because we never get our triangle wider, we just start spinning before we get there, we lose all our balance, thus we lose power. So when we hit that ball, look, it goes down and our body kind of backs up, okay? So that would be an example of spinning the hip as opposed to rotating the hip. Now this one, the only cue we used, the only thing I said was come get the ball, okay? So basically what you're doing is you're increasing your load, okay? So if we just look at the difference in load, look at that versus, let's get you to the same spot, that. See how you're already bringing the hands down to compensate because you've stopped loading your body, okay? So in the bottom video, you're loading. Now, yes, we've got to improve. Ideally, that would be the end of our load, okay? As soon as those hands want to start coming forward, that's as much as you've loaded, okay? But you keep going a little bit. We can work with that, work on our timing, but I want you to see the difference because now you really start to rotate. Look at that load. That's phenomenal right there. If we can get you there, you are going to crush baseballs, okay? But you let it go a little long, but watch this. This is as the hips begin to take the bat to the ball. Look at the difference there versus there, okay? The bottom picture, we're looking at rotating the hips, allowing the hips to generate the power to take the bat to the ball, versus the top where we just spin our hips and try to cast our hands towards the ball. I mean, those two are night and day different. You see how the ball comes off the bat. Now again, we've got room to improve and we get bigger and stronger, okay? And we can get a little more balance and some things like that. But just the idea, I'm going to stride and rotate the hips to drive the baseball, okay? That's a phenomenal difference and a phenomenal difference in power, okay? Just look at the difference there. That is amazing. So great job, man. We'll just, keep working on our timing, keep working on loading the body as we stride and the ability to rotate those hips around. But, in just a couple of swings, that is huge as far as how we're hitting the baseball. All right, great job.